I was in there last night.
What, you?
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah, serious, bro. It was wild. Like, you won't believe it.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
Welcome, welcome, one and all! Yay! We've got a real variety show for you tonight. Homegrown talent, and they're from the local club just down the road. Ooh. They'll be showing some brand new tricks. How about that, eh?
Here I go again, thinking with my heart.
The one and only Bill Foden. Woo! Is that the best you can do? Now this I have to say. Blimey. A magician on and off the pitch.
Could be anything that way.
Erling Haaland singing, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Oh. So it's not his fault. It's our equipment.
Go on, have you done this then?
Edison was like juggling bottles, and the whole team was there, and like legends as well, like past legends.
You cut some rubbish.
What is 365 times 200?
101,470.
He's only right, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see that? Dancing Diaz! Not doing that. Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the shirt raffle, signed by the boss himself.
47.
But honestly,
What a sash. And our home kit. Talk to you about making up this stuff.
But every time I see you,
Pass me that. I'm having it. There's no way. Give me that
oh, darling, darling, darling.
Welcome to Matchday Live, and what a day it is. And I'm not just talking about the weather, of course. The final home game of the season and our final opportunity to say a fond farewell to KDB. Now, before we get on to matchday business, I've got a couple of very special people today. One in particular is very special, but I'll come on to that in a minute. It's Keith and Dylan. And Dylan here won a competition because his commentary, yeah, I've got a rival for the job here, his commentary on the Aguero goal was the winner of a competition, and that competition prize was to be here today. So many congratulations, Dylan. What was it feeling like when you knew that you were the winner?
I was very excited. I was really happy when I could find out that I could go to this game, because it was the last game of the season and De Bruyne was coming, so it was his last game as well. It was really happy. I was really happy.
And of course you had to do a bit of commentary, and I might not ask you to repeat it, but were you feeling nervous when you were asked to do it?
Very. My leg was up, down, up, down, up, down.
Brilliant. Just a word with Keith. I've got to say, by the way, it's not a bad thing to win a commentating competition, but what a prize. You must be ecstatic.
Oh yeah, I mean, he did all the hard work, and I get to see Kevin De Bruyne's last game for free, just because of this young man.
Absolutely brilliant. And you get here as often as you can, don't you?
We try and get here as much as we can, don't we?
Yeah.
And I just noticed just before we just saw in the corner on the bus was Rodri as well. So you've not only got the Kevin De Bruyne bonus, looks as though you might have the Rodri bonus as well.
Yeah, because I've really wanted to see Rodri play. I've not seen him play since 30th of December 2023. That was ages ago, nearly 2 years now. So I really want to see him play as well. Such a surprise to see him play though, because there was a rumour 4 or 5 months ago that he was back in training, but now he's just came back and now he's suddenly came into the game.
Brilliant. And how old are you? 11?
11.
Do you fancy being a commentator one day?
No.
No, fair enough. Seems like a sensible decision to me. Well, listen, many congratulations. Enjoy the evening. I'm sure that you will. Prove positive why it's worth definitely entering competitions, and there's so many of them on Manchester City's website, so make sure you get onto that. But that's the competition winners. Let's get back to the Matchday Live studio, and we can join Kel alongside Paul Dickov and Shaun Goater. Over to you guys.
Welcome along to Matchday Live, Manchester City fans around the world. A very good evening, or maybe where you're watching, it might be a good morning. My name is Kel Spellman, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to this very special final home game of the season as we welcome Bournemouth to the Etihad Stadium. Now, before we get into the show, would we like a stat that's going to make us feel a little bit more hopeful about today's game? Because we know how important a win is. But check this out. Manchester City have never lost a home game against Bournemouth in any competition. And while we've been at it, we've netted 2 or more goals. So the omens are good. My director is looking at me going, I'm sure you should have said that, Kel, but we need the positivity. And also bring the positivity in the studio. I am delighted to say alongside me, I've got Paul Dickov, Shaun Goater and Pablo Zabaleta. But first, let me bring you our starting 11. Ederson is in goal for this final home game at the Etihad. Matheus Nunes comes back in at right back. Great to see him at Wembley. Mamu Akanji is alongside Ruben Diaz in the central part of defence, and completing our back four, ever present this season, Josko Gvardiol. We missed him at the weekend. Kovacic comes into the holding role alongside Ilkay Gundogan, and there he is. Do I need to say any more other than King Kevin for his final home game? Bernardo Silva keeps his place from the weekend, as does that man Omar Mamouche. And to complete the starting 11, there he is, the big man, Erling Haaland. Well, friends, it is so great to be with you this evening, and it's even be better to be sat along 3 legends, Pablo, Shaun, Paul. Pablo, welcome to Matchday Live. It's great to have you here, great to be back at the Etihad. How is it coming back?
It's always nice, it's always special for me. I feel so happy to be back, of course, and I spent nine years in Manchester in this wonderful club. A lot of good memories. On and off the pitch, of course, because today I flew from Barcelona in the morning and had a few hours to have a walk around Old Liège, the place where I used to live, and see friends. So that's why always it's special to be back here.
Now, of course, Pablo, as well, you remember, of course, your final game, and we're here to talk about the big man, King Kev. Don't worry, we've got a whole focus on him a little bit later on. But, I mean, you've been there. What are the emotions, what are the feelings when you're coming in to kind of, bring the end of a special chapter? And we know how special it was for you, as you've said.
Yeah, it was really, really special that day. But obviously, because when you've been for so long in one place and you felt, loved by everyone and with a lot of successful on the pitch, is really, really hard to leave a club like this. Because you made a lot of friends. Even my son was born in Manchester, so that's why when you know that you're going into your final home game. For the club is something special. So for me, a lot of memories from, I remember I was on the bench for that game against Leicester. I chose to play for 20 minutes and like you say, a lot of emotion coming into my, my head, like, memories and looking at all the people around, teammates, family. So it's a special moment, but like I say, all the good moments always come to an end. You have to accept it, you have to move on. but that was a really, really special moment that I will never forget.
No, of course not. And I think, a lot of all ex-players talk about as well, although it's the final home game, you never really leave the club. You're always a part of the club. Shaun, great to be back on with you on Matchday Live. Season's finished as well for you with Aston Villa. Congratulations.
Yes.
Very strong finish. But looking at the game tonight, we know how important this race for Champions League qualification is. It's pointing out the obvious. We need the win. How are City going to go about doing that tonight against a very good Bournemouth team?
But I imagine, City will stick to the process. And the process is, making sure that we can keep the ball for long periods, move the ball from one side to the other, look for those spaces to exploit, and then feed those forwards.
Feed those forwards.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we could get you on there. We're feeding the goat again, Shaun.
He's been fed a bit too much this year.
He's overfed right now. Hey, look. Hey, but this is the setup, isn't it?
Paul, Pep was interested. He spoke about how what we've done in the last 5-6 games is almost secured things at the back, which is where we were struggling. What's then happened is, he says, struggles are now at the other end of the pitch. Think of the draw against Southampton. Wasn't able to take chances against Palace, who defended very, very well. And as we know, 10-11 men in the box. What do you want to see them do differently to try and, put the ball in the back of the net and make sure we do score goals?
Yeah, I think this little run we've had, and it's interesting that it's with Kovacic, Gundogan and Kevin in the middle, Bernardo floating around as well.
Yeah.
That he wants to dominate the ball. And as well with Kovacic and Gundo there, it does give the back four a little bit of protection, because we've been vulnerable with teams sitting us in the break and going between the lines. But when you've got the big man up there, I know they had a quiet game on Saturday, you've always got a chance of scoring goals. Marmoush, I think, has been wonderful since he came in as well, and you've got the creativity in there of Kevin as well. So it'll be difficult tonight, and it'll be interesting how Bournemouth set up, because more often than not they like to go man for man and press all over the pitch. But if you do that here, you could be in trouble very quickly. So how both teams set up, we sit here every match day live and try and work out what system Pep's going to play and who's going to play where. We never seem to get it right. But look, tonight's all about winning, more than anything else. It doesn't matter if we win 3, 4, 5 or we scrape a 1-0. It's about getting 3 points, and how that happens, to be honest with you, I don't really care, as long as we get over the line.
I completely agree with that, Paul. I did want to ask yourself, Pablo, because the goal we conceded against Crystal Palace, it was one that it's a bit of a carbon copy of what a few teams have done to us. And Paul, you mentioned there the counter. Obviously, it's so difficult for the fullback, Pablo. How do you go about almost stopping that goal? Because it seems to be that quick break into the middle. They either play it down the left or the right channel. It's a ball in, and it's ended up in the back of the net 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, so like Paul say, we know Man City likes to attack with so many players, and you have to make sure that defensively you are solid enough, trying not to concede chances, because that you got quality enough up front to make the difference. But as a footballer, you need to make sure when the cross comes from the other side, you have to be in the right position. You need to, always aware of the players inside the box. Always really tight. The communication massively important inside the box, because I think that if you keep a clean sheet, when you look at that team with the quality we have, you expect to go. Sometimes you can miss some of the goals. You can create a lot of chances. It could be not your day, but I'm sure that tonight is a must-win game, like the boys saying, and we need to make sure that we keep the clean sheet, and then let the players up front to make the rest.
One man who's been ever present in the defence, and I mentioned that at the start of the show, Josko Gvardiol. I'd just love to get your thoughts. I mean, he's 21, 22. We know we signed him as a centre back. What's been your assessment of him in particular?
I'm very impressed with him. He feels, I think, more comfortable when he's playing on the left as a left full back. I know that he's been playing for Leicester before as a centre back, but I really like the way he likes to attack all the time. He makes those runs in behind when nobody expects, which is always so difficult for defender to defend when you always aware of the strikers, but he comes from behind. You don't see his timing of the runs are always very, very important, and that's why he scores a lot of goals. And for the defenders, he's very good. So I've been very impressed with him. I think he's one of the best City players this season, and I hope he can continue performing like that.
Yeah, agree.
I want to ask a question jumping in because here's a fullback that's actually in the box there.
Yes.
Is that because his height, or you think tactically Pep just knows he's a good finisher in terms of crosses, or whether it's his height?
I think Pepe, you can see in training that he's a good finisher.
Yeah.
You can see that.
So he's encouraged him.
Absolutely, encouraged, 100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. When you have seen someone playing as a centre back, I didn't expect he was that good in the final third.
Yeah.
But here, Man City, which is a team that is dominating most of the games, and he is very good at how he can read the situation where the ball is from the other side, and of course having players like Kovacic, Gundogan or Kevin De Bruyne there, all you need is just to make that run inside the box. The ball will go there. So that's why his timing always of the runs are very, very good.
Shaun, an attacking player I wanted to pick up on with yourself is Marmoush. Obviously, we think we'll probably be playing on the left-hand side, usually be Bernardo on the right. He's played everywhere across the front three. Where do you like him most, and what have you been most impressed with Marmoush since he arrived?
I like him anywhere up the front because he's a lively player. So he can play up top as a 9. He's very lively. He can come short, get involved. He's very sharp with his movement to go short, go in behind. And when he's out wide, he's effective in his dribbling in terms of driving and taking players on. So love to see him that is in the team, because I think he's somebody that asks questions amongst the opposition. So obviously disappointing he didn't score the penalty, but I think he'll be looking forward to this game to put that behind him.
Yes.
Because that's what top players do. They have setbacks and they go, right, next game we'll win it, and I think he'll be on it today.
Bournemouth play with a lot of energy. We're going to have Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison bringing you that Bournemouth team news very soon. Why do you think Pep has then opted for the midfield of De Bruyne, Kovacic and Gundogan, Paul? I mean, he likes that control, and they're the three of your best controlling players.
It's just ball retention. We normally like to keep possession of the ball, but keep it with a purpose. They know that Bournemouth they'll be in their faces all over the pitch today. Mm-hmm. So it's important that they move the ball very quickly. They take too many touches on it. They set traps all over Bournemouth, whether it be their Evan Nielsen up front, some men out wide, but especially the lads in midfield. So they'll just have to look to really take control of the game, because they know that the way Bournemouth set up, they're going to make it difficult for them.
Yeah.
Something that strikes me, I mean, here at our pitch, I think it's big and wide. I have the feeling when I watch Bournemouth at Bournemouth, it feels a tight pitch. For me, I'm sort of directing this at you. Is the pitch difference, would that be a huge or good advantage for City? Because I always find being at Bournemouth, watching them at Bournemouth, it's like a tight pitch, so a team that could be compact can do that well because the pitch helps. But on a bigger pitch, it's bigger, it's more space.
It seems like for Bournemouth, in the way they play, in the way they press, with high energy, high up the pitch. Sometimes when they're playing away from home, they get caught, So because obviously sometimes at the home, like you say, the pitch is a bit narrow. I play a few times at Bournemouth, and it seems like, it's probably a bit smaller than here at the Etihad, which is wide, and you can have your wingers staying wide and moving the ball quickly, and sometimes. When a team is coming to press like that, you can play 1-2 around the box, and they might be difficult to defend in that way. But I think they're brave. They don't change. Even if they play at home or they play away, I think the philosophy of Iraola, the coach, is still the same. I think they don't have nothing to lose. All they can do is just come to the Etihad, enjoy themselves, and then see if they can get 3 points. And Man City, they need to be very clever today in how to keep the ball, how to find the right moment to attack into the space, because they might find it difficult with Haaland and Musha up front. They can make it difficult for them.
I think the wide players, as I know we spoke about Bardiol, but Nunes today is going to be important because we've not got out-and-out wingers as such on the pitch as well. So it looks as if they're going to want to create an overload in the middle of the park, and the width that we're going to have is going to come from the two fullbacks today, so they're going to be massive.
Also, Shaun, final word, we cannot mention this before I go to a very special competition you can get involved with. How happy were you to see Rodri back on the bench, Shaun?
Well, very, very pleased, because again, he just seems to know where to be. He puts out fires, and he's been off for a while, so it's just really great to see him on the bench, and be awesome to see him get a few minutes as well.
The lift that'll give as well, just the squad.
Yeah, absolutely stinks of Kevin De Bruyne getting taken off and Rodri getting put on for the fans here.
He's called it here first. He's called it here first. Right, let me bring you this then. Would you like the chance to win a signed Manchester City shirt? Well, Nissan have got you covered, because to celebrate the last home game of the season, they are asking you to guess the number of footballs inside this car, and you can win some signed Manchester City merchandise. There's a chance to win a signed shirt by Ilkay Gundogan and none other than Kevin De Bruyne. So if you're coming down to the game, maybe you're en route, just head down there, find that Nissan car and put your guess in for the number of footballs in that car. Right, now we're going to head over to our commentary team today. Alistair Mann is with Andy Morrison. We had a great time at the FA Cup final. They've got your commentary on the app and they can give us their thoughts on the City team and bring you the Bournemouth starting 11.
Yeah, welcome to Pitchside, where alongside me, not just now, but throughout the evening on commentary duty, the former City captain, Andy Morrison. Andy, obviously disappointment at the weekend, and we could talk for a long time about it and the way it went. But the level of performance pleased Pep. Did it please you?
Yeah, it did, because, listen, you know Pep's going to be happy if you've dominated the game and large percentage of possession, we were in late 70s, for long periods, so he's going to be happy with that, but he'll know that there has to be more end product, a little bit more guile and a bit more cleverness in the final third, and then that bit of quality. That's the only thing that's been missing in them dominant performances against Southampton and going into Crystal Palace, so we'll be looking for that bit of quality tonight.
235 minutes since City scored a goal. Should we be worried?
Well, you're always worried if you're not scoring goals. We're dominating the ball. It's just them key areas when creating opportunities, without boring you tactically, Alan. I love talking about tactics, but there's a zone 12 and 13 on a football pitch, and City have so many opportunities in that area to put quality balls into the box, and I hope to see a lot more crosses. There was a ball from De Bruyne at the weekend where Haaland got in at the far post. There was a ball in the same position, which is zone 12, and that was from Bernardo. They're so hard to defend against. We need to put more of that quality into the box, and then if you don't take the first contact, you make sure you get the second contact, and then the second phase you might get an opportunity.
Well, you've mentioned him just briefly there, Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, of course, there's a very important match to be won, and City need the points for Champions League qualification. But there's an emotional attachment tonight. These fans have come to say farewell to literally one of the best players we've ever seen. If you were pushed to reflect on him, how would you describe him and his contributions?
Well, I was thinking on the way in, Ali, and, listen, we're talking about the history of over 100 years, and he sits at the table in the top 10 for me, without a shadow of doubt, and there's some incredible names in there over decades and decades, and Kevin De Bruyne is one of the names that are sat at that table, and rightly so, for what he's done over that period of time, and also what he's done for the Premier League, and done for football in general, almost reinvented the assist and goal ratio, which has been phenomenal. So, yeah, listen, there's nothing I can say, no superlatives enough that nobody else will have said, Ali, because, I've been privileged alongside you on so many occasions to see him, whether it's Champions League, whether it's Premier League, and we've both looked at each other at times with bits of quality, and we've just smiled at the brilliance of the man.
Is there a part of you thinking that he'll have a contribution, a significant moment tonight?
I certainly hope so. Sometimes these things are scripted, aren't they? But, Kevin De Bruyne will want to win this game of football. Because for me, I'm not saying that the players don't owe the fans anything, but they owe it to themselves, to show that they are in the top 5 teams in the Premier League. And at the end of the season, there's no way this group of players should be outside that. And they'll know that, and that's what they'll be talking about tonight coming into this game. 2 games to cement that position and then regroup and go again next year.
And we can't end our City section of this interview without mentioning someone that's crept onto the bench tonight. What are your thoughts that Rodri is in the Matchday squad?
Yeah, brilliant. When there's obviously with another game at the weekend, he's obviously recovered incredibly quickly. We never thought we'd see him this season, but he's been training for a while now and apparently been really fit and chomping at the bit. And I'd imagine probably knocking on the door, knowing the character of the man, saying, put me on. I want to start. I'm ready to go. So, if he's involved in the squad, then the manager must have one eye and maybe playing him.
Well, we talked about the emotional side. Let's talk about the football side and the opposition. And this is the Bournemouth lineup in formation order, really. Kepa, Araujo, Hyson, Zabani, Kyrkez, Adams, Cook, Tavernier, Kluivert, Semenyo and Evan Nielsen. Now, I've seen a lot of Bournemouth this season, and there are very few occasions in which they played all of those guys who I've mentioned in the last 4 or 5 names all at the same time. Now, I know injuries have played the part, but what does that tell you about Bournemouth's approach tonight?
Well, if you're saying there's been injuries, they may not, have any other choice than to go with that team selection. But they've got threats all over the pitch, and the way they play, Ali, is similar to Palace. They're a counter-attacking team, but they'll probably have more possession what a Palace team would the clear identity of a Palace team. And they've got threats, and they've got pace, and they've got players that can hurt anyone if we're not on top of our game.
When you look at the names there, Semenyo, Tavernier, Kluivert, Evan Nielsen, it doesn't suggest to me that they'll be doing what Southampton certainly did and what Palace did to a degree. What does it sell to you tactically?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to have roles and responsibilities. They're wanting to finish the season strongly, so they'll be clear in what they do, but they're going to offer a massive threat on the turnover of possession. Looking at our team, it'll be Nunes and Gavardio will be our highest players in wide positions. I'd imagine Bernardo will drop between centre-halves and then we'll dominate the ball, and really important that we stop that counter-attack through the middle, which is what Pep has done probably over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. That's away from the game at the weekend. But suffocate the midfield, dominate the ball, and then waiting for that moment when we all jump together and the opportunity comes.
This is a team who've always found ways to get over the line in big games at this part of the season. Do you think they'll do it today?
I do. I just feel it's been a brilliant atmosphere the last couple of days, considering the cup final. They went against us, and every fan that I spoke to has been in buoyant mood, knowing that we need to get these 4 points. We need to go over the line and then regroup in the summer, and come back next year with a hunger and an intensity to get back to where we should be. And on that, Ali, I believe, with Rodri back, with John Stones, with Ake and with them players out, I believe we'd have been competing for the Premier League this year without the catastrophic injury list that we've had, throughout this season.
Thoughts there of Andy Morrison. So just to remind you, City are guaranteed to be in Europe already in the UEFA Conference League. They get a draw tonight. They know they're in at least the UEFA Europa League. 4 points from the next 2 games. They know they're in the Champions League. It's an exciting time to be a City fan, despite what happened at the weekend. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you, Andy, there. Nice reminder as well. So 4 points across the next 2 games to secure that all-important Champions League qualification. But Bournemouth are getting in the way of that this evening, and we were just discussing here as a panel, they've been so impressive this season. What have you most liked about this Bournemouth team, Paul?
I think it's how the manager sets them up. They play with no fear. The recruitment, just chatting to the guys off air, the recruitment's been unbelievable. And they've had such a good season. And they could lose 2 of their back 4. It's Oysen and Kerkez rumoured to be going. They've got Semenyo up top, a lot of clubs looking at. Evan Nielsen's come in from nowhere, really. Kluivert. So, there's some really good footballers in there, but they always seem to, when they lose players, they always seem to go out there and replace them and bring them on to make themselves a better team again, and they've still got a chance of qualifying for Europe. So it's not going to be easy tonight, because they've got a lot of pace in the team, they've got a lot of quality in the team, and it'll be a good test for us.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? We're so used to, Pablo, seeing teams come to just sit back and try and weather the City storm, but great point there, and that they're still playing to try and get into Europe themselves. So do you think they'll maybe be inclined to come at us a bit more and see what we've seen with Bournemouth do over the last few games?
Absolutely. I think I know Andoni Iraola, the coach, very well from his time in Spain with Rayo Vallecano. It was very similar to Bournemouth in terms of a mid-table team, let's say, with good players, but very brave in the way that they approach every single game. That his style, and he's not going to change. And I know they've been enjoying it this season so far. They still can have these 3 points to make sure that maybe sometime, or maybe they have the opportunity to qualify for Euro, whatever. But the most important thing is they've been a club that they brought the right players for him, young players full of energy. A coach that improve all the players, and you see there are some big clubs looking for some Bournemouth players for next season, and it tells you why they've been so good this season. So We'll see, but like Paul say, it's not going to be an easy game tonight. We need to make sure that we control every counter-attack from Bournemouth. They are a really threat. Van Nielsen, this player as well, Cleaver, is very good, especially on the turn. He always moves really well behind the striker. So, well done to Bournemouth. I think it's a club that's, from my time back in the day, I see them getting promoted to the Premier League, staying in the Premier League. If I'm not wrong, I have seen a clip of a new training ground for them.
Yeah.
And it's a club that's been doing the right thing.
Yeah, and I think echoing like what you both said there, it's a well-run club and they're reaping the benefits off the pitch and on the pitch. Quick word on Evan Nilsson there. I mean, all their attacking players, Shaun, but he's scored 6 in his last 9 Premier League away starts. He's obviously got that support from Kluivert behind. It's a partnership that's worked really well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly one we have to keep an eye on. And again, another lively player, sort of plays on the line. Again, you see her, he's running on the backside. It's a great finish. And, you know, talking earlier about how do you stop certain goals, just looking at this here, it's either Aki runs a bit faster, straighter, but he can still affect that ball. And so it's either affecting the supply, because again, good strikers find the space, know where to run. When you've got, you know, good players in wide areas that can provide their service, it'll be difficult. So certainly we have to keep an eye on him. But he's, I like him as a striker. He's lively, does the odd thing that's a little different. Isn't just a typical, this is what you see. You know, he does different things at different times.
What he does do is he's important to how they play.
Yeah.
Because when they do go on the counters, the ball sticks when it goes up to him. You know, he's strong, he wins fouls, he buys fouls, he plays in the shoulder as well. So he makes it difficult. He's as comfortable coming short to the ball and holding the ball up for the team as he is running in behind. And how they play with Semenyo. They're talking about Kluivert coming in off the lines or staying wide. Once the ball goes up to him, it really sticks and he allows them to get up the pitch to then go and play.
Is it important then, as much, and we know this is it's a staple of a Pep team, but obviously when we lose the ball, to see how many bodies they put forward, that City are going to have to obviously do the hard yards back as well with Marmoush and Bernardo, Paul?
Yeah, it is, and they're going to have to be disciplined. We all know we want to control the game. But we do know, especially this season, we have been vulnerable to the counter-attack. So sometimes, you know, when we keep the ball as much as we do, I think, I don't know what you think, Pablo, it's a concentration thing sometimes.
Yeah.
For the defenders, you know, sometimes when you've got the ball, the defenders have to think the worst.
Yeah.
That it is going to break down. But I think because we have so much of the ball, that sometimes they can just get caught up with watching what the
rest defence, you know, this is how you call rest defence.
Yeah.
Just be aware when we have the ball and moving the ball quickly, that you as a defender, you know where the striker is.
You've got to think the worst.
Just make sure that you're tight.
Yeah.
Because if he's coming short and get the ball into feet, then you can press. But also, a few steps back in case that you have to run in behind. Yeah. You know, it's not... and especially with Evan Nielsen, that he's a powerful player. He can run into the space easily.
I wanted to... Sorry, Shaun, you were going to... Sorry.
This just throws me back to someone like Fernandinho. Because I remember loads of times Fernandinho will sort of put the fire out, like, take the foul for the team and foul without getting the yellow cards. And we have players that are different and quality, and we've gone up levels. But it almost feels like, you know, when we think of times when we concede, sometimes having a player that just goes, you know what, let me just commit this foul, we get behind the ball, regroup, and then we can deal with it. We haven't done that as much as I can think back to when Fernandinho.
Yeah.
And he was so clever at it, because sometimes he didn't even get the foul. It was just a really clever play of being able to do that and stop that counter attack.
Yeah, it nullified it before it hit our final third,
Yeah.
so the ball never kind of got there. I wanted to ask just with the Bournemouth team, and you mentioned, Pablo, they are a young team, and we've spoke about on this show throughout the season, when you get young players, they have almost... It's like an ignorance where they just go and play with freedom and, you know, that kind of confidence in themselves. How much of that Bournemouth team is because they're a young team, or how much of it is that the manager gives them the freedom?
No, I think he's the coach. He likes to play high energy football, and for that you need young players with legs, with energy, and that's why they are a really, really tough team. And you see both fullbacks pushing forward. You have wingers really fast that they take, you know, players on, or they can run in behind. Two midfielders to bring a little bit of balance in midfield, and sometimes I have seen a lot of game from Bournemouth that they push one of the centre back with one of the midfielders of the opposition team to be one-on-one in the centre of the park. Incredible. That's why they're very brave. They're not afraid to do it against anyone, not even even against the big teams. And that's why you have to give credit to them. And this is all down to the coach, that they encourage all these players not to be afraid and not to sit back, to go and believe this is our way. I know it could be hard at some point that we can concede the counterattacks, but at the same time, they can win the ball back in a very good situation where with only 3 or 4 passes, they are in the opposition box, and that's why they score goals. So I think it's a bit of everything, it's just very clear in the idea of Iraola, but I think they got the right play that they really suit his style.
And what is needed by that
what is
position.
needed, absolutely,
It was, that made me think of that as well, because Pep spoke about with the Echeverri substitution, we're going actually to bring on a young kid who's not got the pressure of the expectations of this is what we've done and this is how we should play. He came on with that freedom, and you saw that. He created 3-4 chances, and that was one bright spark of the weekend for me, was that cameo from him.
It was, and the spark was the word. As soon as he came on the pitch, and we was out when we were out in Buenos Aires in the trophy tour. I think we'd just signed him, and people in Argentina, better than me, speak really highly of him, don't they?
Yeah. Is he well thought of? Is he?
Don't want to put too much pressure on him.
Keeping his cards close to his chest. No, but that is, I think, a little bit more today as well. If you want to go and kind of get the game, there is a point of almost bring the energy, express yourself, and do what is needed to be done in that final third to put the ball in the back of the net.
There isn't. Look, away from it, I know it's not been the best this season, but the players that are out on the pitch today know how to win things, and they know how to win big games, and they know how to get over the line. And I think that experience, especially with today being the last home game, the experience that's in the team today is going to be really important, because, as I said, we need to win the game, and the players that are out there are used to winning.
Now there is not only just the experience out there, but is one player who can single-handedly turn the tide of a game or grab it by the scruff of his neck. It is this man here you can see making his way out onto the Etihad pitch for the final time. It makes me emotional saying that, but I'm going to stay strong, because it is, of course, the day we all say farewell to one of the all-time greats, and definitely in the argument of possibly one of the best players we have ever seen wear a Manchester City shirt. So, before we get to wax lyrical and talk about our love and appreciation for what this man has done for our club, let's go back and let's hear from what the media had to say about Kevin De Bruyne and his legacy at Manchester City.
Kevin De Bruyne, incredible. He has been so remarkably consistent for Manchester City over so many years. Obviously has won countless trophies.
So City have had some amazing players in recent years. They've said goodbye to some real greats, but Kevin De Bruyne will be remembered as possibly the best of all of the modern era, certainly in the top sort of 2 or 3.
So seeing players like Yaya Toure and David Silva and plenty of others who I could name, Kevin De Bruyne has got to be right up there as probably the best.
Obviously some brilliant performances, so many great assists, great goals. I think that's the key, isn't it? The sheer number of assists in terms of Premier League history, but combined with the number of goals as well.
He's made such an enormous contribution to everything that City have achieved over the last 10 years, and I think he's almost irreplaceable in a lot of ways.
He's the assist king, isn't he? Statistically, I think he's up there as one of the best ever assist kings in English football, and I've just loved watching him. I've seen every minute of every game, of course, and I can't think of anybody who's been more consistent and better to watch than Kevin De Bruyne.
Pep said on so many occasions that he will be nigh on impossible to replace. Likened him to Messi in terms of great players he's coached.
We heard Guardiola there sort of putting him just behind Lionel Messi in the terms of what a tremendous passer of the ball he is, and but also the other qualities. He's been such a talisman for City.
Even though I can rack my brain and think of great pass through to Erling Haaland for that one, or great cross for Ilkay Gundogan for that one, I think the great magic of Kevin is not one single moment, but the pure consistency of what he has done and does do still.
I always think about the equaliser at Real Madrid in the Bernabeu 2 years ago. You know, I think that was a key moment because it sort of set up what came in the second leg. Really, the fact that City had disappointments at Real Madrid the previous year. I just felt that that equaliser, probably, what was it, about 15 minutes from time. Great goal, very, very sort of typical Kevin De Bruyne goal.
So many clubs have great players, but I don't think De Bruyne just leaves a legacy at Manchester City. He leaves a legacy on English football and the Premier League, and I think that is probably the mark. Not every great club legend leaves a mark on a country or on a league.
He's done his talking on the pitch, and like I say, it's going to be so hard for City to replace him.
The sheer consistency, the sheer brilliance, the fact that if you're putting together an all-time Premier League 11, Kevin De Bruyne's name is in there, and that, I think, is probably the legacy. One of the greatest midfielders that we've ever seen, certainly in the Premier League, certainly in England. Remarkable.
Signed in 2015 for a club record fee of 55 million, and since then, well, the rest is history. 19 major trophies as a Manchester City player. He's made 382 appearances, scoring 102 goals and providing 170 assists, and has been named in Manchester City's Player of the Season 4 times and Premier League Player of the Season twice. Paul, I don't think there are quite the words or the superlatives to summarise this man, but I'm going to ask you all to try and do that. What has been your take on his time at City and his legacy that he has left?
I think you just look at the numbers you just said there, 170 assists and 19 trophies. You know, it's ridiculous, and you know, everybody's saying the same thing, so it's difficult to try and find somebody different. But for me, he's the best player I've seen here at the Etihad, and probably one of the best players in the Premier League. You know, and people talk about Steven Gerrard, fantastic, Frank Lampard, all these wonderful players, but Kevin had a bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know, when he was at his peak, he's worked great without the ball. People always talk about his quality with the assist. His work rate without the ball was unbelievable. The amount of times he's dragged this team through when they've been struggling,
yeah,
and really took the game by the scruff of the neck. Here, Aston Villa, when we won the league and we're 2-0 down.
Yeah.
He literally took it upon himself that day to drag us over the line, and the final assist for Gundo to make it 3-2 was just unbelievable. Talking about that ball, it's here is just ridiculous. But to do that at that time of the game as well, yeah, you know, and he's a leader without screaming and shouting, and his quality on the ball, I've never seen anything like it. It must have been, to be a forward playing with Kevin De Bruyne, it must be just an absolute dream. You know, you make your run, you wouldn't have to look where the ball is, you just know you're going to get it at your feet in the box.
Well, I think even Erlinger spoke about that in interviews building up. He said we had a connection straight away, but he says with a player like that, it's not hard to have that connection. You've been in a striker. Can you imagine what it would be like to have a playmaker like Kev behind you?
Well, I think I'd still be playing because the reality is he finds the player. We watch the game from a bird's eye view, and sometimes you go, the ball should go there. Well, Kevin puts the ball exactly there, and that's not luck. This is a phenomenal player, and I feel blessed to have been able to see him play. I've seen him, score screamers with his right foot. I've had conversations with him. I asked him, "You must be left-footed," because he scored exact type of goal with his left foot. It was a game he played. He was in his own half. It was a straight ball through. Two defensive players, a midfielder slid forward, couldn't reach it. Defender slid forward, couldn't reach it, but it was perfect for the striker. I mean, I ain't seen any balls like this in my life, and I'm just thinking, this guy's unreal with his weight of pass and the vision to see it. For me, he just excites me. He's excited me throughout. As Paul said, the trophies he's gotten. He basically averaged 2 trophies a season.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's phenomenal, and sad to see that he'll be moving on because he just took us to another level, and it was a real joy to watch him. It really was.
9 times out of 10 as well, we're talking about the centre forwards knowing the ball's going to come. I think the defenders know where he's going to put it, but they still can't stop it.
Yeah.
It is that perfect in what he does. That little one that he whips in across the 6-yard box, the goalkeeper and the defenders know it's going there. but he's that precise in the quality he puts in the ball. It's impossible to stop.
I mean, Pablo, of course. I mean, you'll know him better than all of us. I mean, as a person, but as a player as well, to have someone like that on your team, what is that like, and what were you able to?
Absolutely amazing. What a great player. I was just listening to some of the journalists, and I will never forget that time they were saying, it's so much money for King De Bruyne. People were saying, no, 55 million, 60 million. That's ridiculous money for a football player. Look, 10 years after, it just looks like, it's been a joy to watch. It's just you can spend the whole day watching his goals, assists, and because one of those players, like Shaun said before, I think he took the club to another level. When he first came, he was very what a assist and what a goal that is. Look,
that was the best one in the lot. Best one.
But it was, having Kevin De Bruyne as a team, it was just pass the ball to Kevin, and very clever, not only on how good he was for his long, range from outside the box, but his crosses, and he was also very clever at moving in those pockets behind the midfielders, are always waiting the ball to go to the winger and making that run between the fullback and the centre back, and just without even looking at the box, he was just bang, crossing the ball, and all you needed as a striker just to be there at the right time, because his crosses always was spot on. So one of those players that wins games. We always say that you always need a big squad to win trophies, but talent win games, and Kevin is one of them. So he will be missed for sure, but we wish him all the best, because he brought so much success into this football club, and on and off the pitch. So that was the most important thing.
Speaking of that success, and we can bring you this amazing mural now, and this cracks me up, because I saw a tweet going, he's won that much in a City shirt, they had to use 2 houses. Yeah. Usually they only can use 1 house, but they had to have the 2 in. But you look at that whole, and I'm saying this, and even if you think, Cench, from the time when you played, to look at one player, to have that many accolades with a team and then his individual ones, it's hard to think, it's rare you might see something like that again, to do that for one team, and for him to have been so instrumental in every single one of them trophies, Paul.
It's ridiculous. But it's the influence he's had in doing that as well. Every single trophy that he's won there, Pablo's saying part of a team, he's probably been our best player in every season he's been here, consistently. And to have that consistency and longevity for how long he's done it, and look, we all know he's had his injuries throughout his career as well, but he's always came back stronger, and he's always in the big games produced big moments, and that's what the best players in the world do.
Wanted to give a final question on as well, because we speak about him on the pitch, but I think it's important to talk about him as a man off the pitch, one as a dad, but anyone around the club. I've had, the privilege of getting to interview him myself. He says hello to everyone. He's so humble, and just he's almost quite quiet in a way, but polite. And I think that's just as important off the pitch, and it's great for fans and young players to know that that's how you conduct yourself as well as a human being, Pablo.
He was very quiet when he first came. Of course, he was young. And the expectation was there. Everyone was saying, like I said before, someone that we're not sure if he's going to make difference. They pay big money for him, blah, blah, blah. Look, sometimes when you see those players that they don't talk off the pitch, but they talk on the pitch, well done. That's what you want.
It is.
And very humble, like you say, quiet. And of course he became a leader, a captain of this club, leading in a way that you as a teammates, you always want players like that, where they always ready to fight, to go on the pitch and win, because he's a winner. He's someone that after some defeat he was very upset, and that's why that's all you need to win trophies. Winners, people that get used to win, that bring consistency, and And for me, I wish I was younger when he first came, because I probably could have been playing more time with him. But I really enjoy my time as a City player with Kevin.
Yeah, amazing. You know, the best compliment that I can pay him, and I know I speak for all City fans when I say words will never do justice for how much we love and appreciate what you've done, but my granddad always spoke about, I got to see King Colin Bell play. And I've seen some amazing plays, and David Silva is also in there, but I know that he is one that, to my kids and grandkids, that you'll go, I got to watch the King Kevin De Bruyne play for 9 seasons. I just think that's the best compliment I can pay you, Kev. Let's carry on with this. We're now going to head to the Tunnel Club with FG, who's with a competition winner. Of course, has managed to win a very special prize, and it's because he spoke about some of his favourite memories of our King Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I'm here at the Tunnel Club, and I'm with a very, very special guest, Tegan. First of all, welcome to Matchday Live. You won the Citizens giveaway to be in the Tunnel Club for the last home game of the season. How do you feel?
Happy.
So what was it like when you found out that you'd won?
It was just a bit awkward and a bit random, but...
Did you think it was a bit of a joke?
Yeah.
So you're in the Tunnel Club right now. Have you had a lot of food? What's it like in there?
It's quite big and good.
And obviously today is a very special occasion because it's Kevin De Bruyne's last home game as a Manchester City player. How are you feeling about that?
Quite nervous to see if he scores, or...
Do you think he will score today?
Probably.
And what do you think the score's going to be today?
Oh, probably like 2-1 or something.
2-1 to Manchester City. Well, I think it's only right that we pan the camera around to Dad, who actually won the giveaway, but he doesn't want to be on camera. Kevin De Bruyne, in one word.
Irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable, and that is about it. Listen, we're going to head to a very special video. Sorry about that. We're going to head to a very special video about Kevin De Bruyne right now. But remember, if you enter these competitions, you might end up in the Tunnel Club.
We used to be giants. When did we stop? Just say the word and I'll be yours. You know I never forgot.
De Bruyne. Oh, that is champion.
The thing with Kevin is this picture is a different picture than any other players that I've seen in the league.
Absolute belter from Kevin De Bruyne. There is no stopping that. Wow. Kevin De Bruyne.
Just is the best player in the league, full stop.
Breathtaking, brilliant, De Bruyne. Well, he has the face of an angel, but he's a deadly assassin. Just unstoppable right now.
I think he's the best I've ever seen at passing the ball.
This place is fast becoming his kingdom.
He is the perfect footballer. It's just a joy to watch him. He's phenomenal.
Truly brilliant from Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, it's extraordinary play. He sees passes and actions that the normal human beings cannot see it.
De Bruyne, the best player on the pitch.
We used to be giants. So when did we stop? Just say the word and I'll be yours. You know I never forgot.
Kevin De Bruyne. What are we saying? King Kev.
Easily one of the toughest opponents I've played against. He could do anything with a football.
Kevin is a special player, has special qualities. He's a special player in this era as well, the way he played, the numbers that he produced, the passes, the creativity.
He made the Premier League better. He made if City is where he is and Man United hasn't won many trophies in this period, it's also because of Kevin De Bruyne.
I think he's been one of the best players the Premier League has seen.
He just sees things that no one else does, and that's his gift in the game.
He's a bit quiet. He talks in the pitch. He's very competitive, and he has a way to play that is not very common in nowadays. The normal thing about him is 1-2 assists every game, or 2 or 3 big chances created. That's why he's so important for us.
I never play with a player that can execute that precisely at high speed. He can be running at 33, 34 kilometers an hour and play the ball 30 meters through two people to the perfect spot. I haven't seen anybody else do that at that pace.
What a career he's had at Man City, one of the Premier League's greatest ever midfielders.
It was a pleasure to watch him so close. It was a pleasure to play against him.
His technique, his power, the way he ran with the ball, the way he could change a game. His numbers in the Premier League speak for himself. And it's a pleasure to obviously have played against him and to say that I've played against Kevin.
Yeah, I think the league is going to miss him.
No, I want to tell him congratulations for your career. He done a phenomenal job in the city, and I think he was great for the league, and I really wish him the best.
It was always a difficult task to play against him and having him as an opponent. So that's a good thing that he's not playing for City anymore next year.
I wish him all the best in whatever he does, but certainly if it's not the Premier League next season, thank goodness.
Kevin is an amazing player, everybody knows, and it's insane, you know, the passes, we find each other, I go on the run and he finds me. When this feels natural, nothing's better.
What a player, absolutely incredible player for the Premier League, for Manchester City, one of the very best that we've seen.
I mean, what a player, what a man. He is sometimes, you know, when you see a guy that has the for me, the genius status, don't try to understand what he's doing, just enjoy him.
He absolutely is one of the best midfield players I've had. Fortunately for me, an incredible top talent, of course, is one of them. Maybe he's the most direct, clever in terms of an assist and the forward vision. And of course, he's one of the best.
He's the full package, and I think for the Premier League to have witnessed him, I can say that I played against him. And yeah, it's been an honour to play against him, and I wish him well, obviously, in his next chapter.
You have era-defining players, and I think he's definitely one of them.
Yeah, welcome back to pitch side. You can see the final preparations just going on behind us. Andy Morrison still alongside me. Andy, yeah, there's a lot of emotion attached to tonight. Of course there is, and rightly so. But looking at the faces and the expressions and the determination, there is still focus on the job, isn't there?
100%. I didn't expect anything different, Ali.
Yeah.
But there's a real intensity in the eyes. The body language is really positive, really aggressive, intense. It's a job to be done, they know that. I'm really impressed with everything that I've seen in these last 5 minutes.
There was a lot of talk about wanting to win the FA Cup for Kevin and all that kind of talk. I know that there's no trophy at stake, but these are professionals. They'll want to end with a minimum of Champions League football, won't they?
100%. You're spot on, and that's what it's about tonight. Of course, there's an emotional attachment to the game with Kevin De Bruyne, but it's about winning this game, going into the Fulham game, knowing what we need to do to secure Champions League football for next year.
When you have someone who's obviously been one of the greatest we've ever seen in the shirt, is there a feeling among the teammates that they do want to, I know it didn't happen on Saturday, but they do want to make sure he goes out with high points and with something to treasure rather than something that maybe just fizzled out like Saturday?
I'd say with a group of players and what they've achieved over the years, Ali, I don't think it makes any difference. I think the group with a manager, I think they want to win every game of football. That's the most important thing. Of course, they want to do well for Kevin De Bruyne, but it's about winning this game of football tonight and then celebrate at the end with Kevin.
Well, listen, we're excited. We're looking forward to it. Make sure you download the app, listen to our commentary. It's going to be a great night, one way or another.
So there we have it. You can get your commentary on the Manchester City app not long to go before I hand over to those two guys. Before we do, let me just recap your starting 11. Ederson in goal, Núñez at right back two with Kanji and Diaz in the middle, Gvardiol at left back, moving into the midfield, Kovacic alongside Ilkay Gundogan and our king Kevin De Bruyne, who captains the side, and Bernardo Silva, Marmoush and Erling Haaland complete the starting 11. It's an important point, that, isn't it, Pablo? Of course, it's an emotional moment for the fans, for the club, Kevin's final home game, but the most important thing today is to get those 3 points.
Absolutely, it's a must-win game for City. We need to secure a Champions League spot for next season. That's the most important thing, and of course, we all expect and we want City to win tonight. Hopefully, it can be 1-0 with Kevin's goal. That's perfect. But of course, like we spoke before, it's going to be difficult. So, discipline, energy, all we need to win tonight.
And we can't also not forget that Bournemouth have had a brilliant season. We spoke about the manager, the team that he's garnered and festered here. We have to be wary of the threats that they face as well, Shaun.
yes, you know, they're going to look to try to push themselves into the top 4 or 5. But from City's point of view, I think what's good about this game, from Kevin's point of view, is that it's important to mean something, because otherwise the emotions can get the better of him. But because it really means something in that we have to get a result, I think he can put the emotions aside and play his normal game as well.
We also highlight the midfield three is very much the midfield three that Pep loves to control the game, to retain possession. Is that going to be important because we know how quickly they can break if they do get the ball?
Absolutely, and I think that's the reason we've done it, and that's the reason this little run of games in the league that we're unbeaten in, because it's gave us a bit more solidity in there as well. And I'm pretty sure we'll see Bernardo and Marmoush tucking in as well, as I said before, with the width coming from the two fullbacks. So looking to overload the middle of the park with the ball, but then to just give that Ruben and Akanji a little bit of shield and when they're on their counter attack.
And I guess, although we know the important thing is the win, it's a good motivation for the players to say, for Kevin's final home game, go out and win the game.
If I would be playing tonight, I would give 120% this game just for Kevin.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's one of the last home game for him. We all know what it means for him, and that's all you have to do. You know, just respect for the teammates and for someone. There's a proper relation for this football club.
Absolutely. Well, the final thing for us to do is score predictions. Paul, would you like to go first? Can you give me what you...
I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1?
Kevin De Bruyne goal.
I think this guy's rent-free in my head, you know.
Were you thinking
Shaun, 3-1?
3-1 with Kevin hat-trick.
Yeah, we go.
Okay.
Listen, I want to say a massive thank you to Paul, to Shaun, Pablo as well.
Thank you.
Privileged to have you on the show. Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Come join us at half-time. Come join us at full-time. The boys are in the tunnel, so I'm going to hand over to the commentary. Final thing for me to say is come on, City.
There have been some very special nights at the Etihad Stadium. You can certainly think of Champions League and very emotional games when we've said farewell to the likes of David Silva, Yaya Toure and of course Pablo Zabaleta. But tonight we have the opportunity to say farewell to our most decorated player, Kevin De Bruyne.